What's up, family? It's me. I'm back, and I just want to share some things with you. Some stuff that I hadn't heard anybody talk about, and I think maybe we need to be aware. And I believe in us being aware as much as possible of what's really going on and getting the full story behind things. So I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's being smart. Um, I hope everybody's exercising your Second Amendment rights in your own homes, in your own communities, in your own neighborhoods for your own protection. Hopefully, everybody is getting together in your neighborhoods and in your communities, you know what I'm saying, and taking it a step beyond community watch and the folks with real experience, with real training are getting together with people in the neighborhood, and teaching folks about guns, teaching people about gun safety, teaching the people about how to care for your weapon properly, and educating people on owning a weapon, owning a gun, how you keep it safe, how you clean it, and all of that kind of stuff, and how we really get this thing together so that we can do the community policing that we need to do so that we can keep these folks out of our communities because Trump and the powers that be are determined that they're going to invade our communities. So we have got to be very, very careful. We've got to be very vigilant. We've got to be very diligent. We've got to be very aware. And we've got to do what's necessary to make it clear that we don't need all of that in our communities. We are perfectly capable of policing our own communities. So we've got to do that. Chicago is a different story. There's a whole lot going on in Chicago. There's a whole lot of behind the scenes, undercover stuff going on in Chicago, along with some of the gang violence and some of that. But not all of that is black on black stuff. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. Okay, but they've been wanting to use Chicago as an example. They've been wanting to get their hands in Chicago and get in Chicago, and now because of the protests and all of that, they finally have the excuse that they need, and they're going to try to use that same excuse to get in everywhere, to get these federal agents and all of this kind of stuff in everywhere. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit, but before we get into that, well, maybe let's go ahead, since that's what's up. Let's go ahead on and let's talk about that. Now, this article that I'm gonna read from is coming from the New York Post. It was July 23rd, so it's only been a few days ago. And the headline is Trump Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot agreed to deployment of federal agents. Now, you'll hear in this particular article where Lightfoot was against Trump sending in these federal agents. She was against it at first, right? And after a brief conversation with Trump on the phone, all of a sudden she changed her mind. Does that remind you of a story that I just did? I think it was the last video we uploaded, or maybe the one before that, where the judge in Kansas was against well at first he was for this ban on these non-lethal weapons being used against protesters. Then he got a telephone call from the Trump Justice Department, and all of a sudden he decided that he was going to switch a rule, and he was going to actually order this injunction that would stop the ban, that would keep the ban from going into effect. So yeah, it's a lot of telephone calls and a lot of secret conversations and all of this kind of stuff going on right now between the Trump administration and these different governors and mayors and judges and all of this kind of stuff. Why? Because Trump is determined that he's going to keep the white supremacists Status quo. He's determined that all of these protests and all of this folks rising up and folks rising up against the police, who are the enforcement arm of white supremacy, and he's determined that he's not going to let any of that shake white supremacy. He's determined that he's going to keep the white supremacy status quo right where it is. So if he has to wield his power and if he has to make telephone calls, and we don't know whether he's threatening people in these calls or what, but whatever's necessary, whatever he has to do to keep white supremacy enforced and to keep the police right there so that they can continue to enforce it, then that's exactly what he's going to do. So let's listen to a little bit of this. President Trump called Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Wednesday evening to confirm his plans to send 200 federal agents to the city to combat a rampage of violence. In a statement obtained by the Chicago Sun-Times, the mayor's office said Trump reached out to Mayor Lightfoot this evening to confirm that he plans to send federal resources to Chicago to supplement ongoing federal investigations pertaining to violent crime. The conversation was brief and straightforward, the statement said. Lightfoot, who previously vowed to turn away the feds, and Trump, who blasted extreme politicians whom he accused of joining an anti-police crusade. So see, Trump is all about the police having all of this power and the police being able to act above the law and all of this kind of stuff, to kill folks and abuse folks and just do whatever they want to do. Why? Because the police, law enforcement, again, is the enforcement arm of white supremacy. They enforce white supremacy, especially on black folks. And right now, they really don't care what happens to those white folks that are out there in the streets protesting against white supremacy. Why? Because those white folks are off code. And we know for a fact that when white folks get off code, other white folks don't mind killing them. They don't mind taking them out when they get off code. Who blasted extreme politicians whom he accused of joining an anti-police crusade, are in agreement over the strategy of sending in agents. They're saying that Lightfoot and Trump are in agreement over the strategy of sending in agents to plug into existing operations, the paper reported. To plug into existing operations. Okay, so there may be some agents that we see, but what about these agents that we don't see? These agents that are sent to plug into existing operations. Okay, so what are they really plugging into? Are they there to do some infiltrating? You understand? You see what I'm saying? Are they there to quote unquote maybe infiltrate some of these so-called gangs and all of this kind of stuff that are supposed to be the perpetrators of all of this violence in Chicago? Mayor Lightfoot maintains that all resources will be investigatory in nature and be coordinated through the U.S. Attorney's Office, the statement said. The mayor has made clear that if there is any deviation, like who's supposed to be scared of her? Really? The mayor has made clear that if there is any deviation from what has been announced, we will pursue all available legal options to protect Chicagoans. Trump is deploying officers to Chicago and also to Albuquerque, New Mexico, as part of the National Operation Legend Anti-Violence Initiative. Oh, so now he has this anti-violence initiative. Does it sound similar to the war on drugs? Just answer that question. Does it sound similar to the war on drugs? A National Operation Legend Anti-Violence Initiative, which is named for Legend Taliaferro, a 4-year-old shot dead in Kansas City. Oh, okay. All right. Earlier this month, federal officers were sent to Portland, Oregon. Okay, but what does a 4-year-old being shot in Kansas have to do with Chicago and Albuquerque, New Mexico? Anyway, earlier this month, federal officers were sent to Portland, Oregon to protect a federal courthouse from rioters and to Kansas City to quell violence as part of Operation Legend. Now, again, this is supposed to be violence that's supposed to be started by these protesters. It's supposed to be the protests that started all this violence. The efforts in Chicago, however, would not resemble the heavily criticized presence in Portland, where camouflaged federal agents have patrolled streets and made arrests in an attempt to protect federal buildings, according to the Sun-Times, and who have also been seen in unmarked vehicles, jacking people up and throwing people in vans and all of this kind of stuff. That's what they've been doing in Portland. That's the reason why the mayor and the governor and all that in Portland have sued or are suing to get the feds out of there, because of the way they're treating people and they're arresting people that are miles and miles away from this so-called federal buildings, these federal buildings that they're supposed to be protecting. They all off miles and miles away, jacking folks up and arresting folks. Miles away from these federal buildings that they were supposed to be sent there to protect. See, once they get in, they pretty much do what they want to do once they get in under the pretense of protecting something or quelling the violence or whatever. Once they get in, they pretty much do what they want to do. Now just listen. Now I want you to hear what they just said. The efforts in Chicago, however, would not resemble the heavily criticized presence in Portland. The agents would collaborate with Chicago police and Lightfoot's office under the direction of the U.S. Attorney John Loesch, whom Lightfoot, a former federal prosecutor, knows and trusts, the paper reported. This is not patrol. This is not against civil unrest, Loesch told the outlet ahead of Trump's announcement. This is working with the Chicago Police Department to do what we can to reduce the staggering violent crime we're facing right now. The federal teams will focus on gangs, guns, and drugs, he said, which all are synonymous with black folks and the black community. So they're telling you right now what the feds will be in Chicago doing is totally different and does not even resemble what they're going to be in what they were sent to Portland to do. They were only sent to Portland so-called to protect federal buildings. But they're making it clear that this is not a patrol. This is not against civil unrest. This has nothing to do. These folks going in to Chicago has nothing to do with protests, civil unrest, none of that. We're going straight looking for the niggas. The federal teams will focus on gangs, guns, and drugs, he said. Now just listen to this. They may wear tactical gear or work undercover, but will not be dressed in camouflage. Now what did we just say up here in the earlier part of the article? That they were going to plug into existing operations. So they going to go in undercover. They going in working undercover and all of this kind of stuff so they can jack up these niggas. This is all about black folks in Chicago. It ain't about nothing else. It ain't about no protest. It ain't about no civil unrest. It ain't about protecting nothing. It ain't about protecting no property or nothing else. This is simply about Trump finally being able to get federal agents, undercover agents, in Chicago so that they can target black folks. Now there it is right there. Now you've had folks like Jason Black, folks like Tariq, and other folks down through the years been talking about they wanted to target Chicago. They was trying to figure out how they could get in there and all of that. Well, now they have their opportunity. And they plainly letting you know that the federal teams will focus on gangs, guns, and drugs. Like I said, which is synonymous with black folks. In the eyes of white supremacy, those three words are synonymous with black folks. They will wear tactical gear or work undercover, but will not be dressed in camouflage, which means you will not be able to recognize them. So again, y'all folks in Chicago, you better get it together. You better get it together, even if it means it's time to start staying at home. Even if it means it's time to start getting off the street. Because black folks are going to be the target. They are the target. For years, they've been working in Chicago undercover to keep the crime rate getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And working in Chicago to make sure that there's no jobs, to make sure that the economy for the black folks and the poor folks in Chicago is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So understand, this ain't got nothing to do. They're plainly telling you in this article that it will not resemble anything that's going on in Portland. They were supposed to be sent to Portland specifically to protect federal buildings. Although they're doing a whole lot more. But they making it clear here. These two things, what's going on in Portland and what's going on in Chicago, have nothing to do with each other. They sending in undercover federal agents. And agents wearing tactical gear. They getting ready to wage war on black folks in Chicago. And they're going to send in the undercover agents to tell you where to go. So you better be aware. You better be aware of what's going on. If you know anybody that lives in Chicago, if you know anybody that travels to Chicago, if you got family, friends in Chicago, around that Chicago area, then y'all need to be having these conversations with them and letting them know what's going on. These federal agents are getting ready to start working undercover. They probably already undercover. They're probably being undercover, to tell the truth. And then you're going to have them wearing tactical gear. Tactical gear is all that militarized stuff. They getting ready to wage war on black folks in Chicago, on the streets of Chicago. And Lightfoot is all for it. Now, I don't know what the conversation was between her and Trump. I don't know what Trump promised her or what Trump threatened her with, or whatever the case may be. But whatever it was, it didn't take long for her to go along with this. So just be warned. And I want to play a little bit of a video for y'all. Of course, this article and this video that I'm getting ready to play a little bit of, both of those will be linked in the description box, so you can go back and you can read the whole article. You can listen to this whole video. But this is a video of Minister Louis Farrakhan in the community. And he had, I think it's one of the councilwomen, one of the black councilwomen out there with him. And he's in the community and he's talking about going into the different neighborhoods and talking to, you know, the different gangs and different folks in the neighborhoods. You understand what I'm saying? So they can try to sit down and come up with a resolution and all of this kind of stuff to some of the violence that was going on back then. And this is 2012. And I want you to listen to just a piece of what he said. So see, Farrakhan saw all of this coming. He saw that if somebody didn't get it together, if everybody didn't get somewhere and sit down and chill out a little bit, that at some point it was going to give them all the ammunition that they needed to just come in and pretty much invade Chicago. And that's exactly what they're doing now. Just listen to this. I hope you can hear it good.
Yes, sir. So we're going to stand with you and with your councilman, and we're going in all the hot spots where murder, violence is there, and we're going to try to talk to the leaders of the various groups because we are all one family. Yes, sir. We came from God. How could you and I be made in the image and likeness of God and not be a God? That's right. See, we just reversed it. We say yo dog. Right. Well, dog is God going backwards. All right. And so we got to turn it back around, yes, to be God's. And if you read your Bible, David the psalmist say, "Ye are all God's children of the Most High God." That's right. But look at how the gods are behaving. So we are here to see if we can turn it around and be the gods that we are born to be. And once you realize who you are, then look at your brother. That's you again. So if he's on the next block, he's a green tree, he's a stone, or whatever he is, that's your family. So the enemy got us killing each other when we are direct descendants of God himself. And so that the babies that I'm looking at, the young girls that I'm looking at, they can grow up and have children and live to see their children have children. And these children deserve to grow up. And if we are hurting each other, shooting and not careful when we shoot it, then we're killing innocent people. And believe it or not, you that are shooting are innocent too. You're victims of a conspiracy. When I come back, I want to talk to you about a conspiracy, because under the last police administration, Superintendent Jody Weeks had lunch at our house, and I had read in the newspaper that the Chicago police had ordered 17,000 automatic rifles with armor-piercing bullets. So I asked him, why are you ordering that kind of weapon for the police? What is it that you expect? He never answered my question. 2 days ago, I read on the internet that Homeland Security had ordered 750 million rounds of ammunition with hollow point bullets. They are expecting civil unrest. And that's the excuse to come into the community and kill our young men. Our young men are the strongest generation we have ever produced. They're fearless, they're strong, but they do not like hypocrisy. So if we are the elders and we say something that we are not doing, they see us doing what we're telling them they shouldn't do, but they see us doing. So they're more free and open. They cuss, and I mean cuss. But they cuss because what? We was cussing behind the door. So if they hear us cussing behind the door, but they say, man, I don't care what Papa say. We gonna cuss too. And not only cuss, but look at these pretty young girls out there. They deserve a chance to grow. Nobody molesting them. Nobody raping them. Incest is going wild. With fathers taking off their daughters, cousins, uncles, all family members, raping these young girls. And we're not giving them a chance. Do you know that without the woman, we are nothing? That's right. And sisters, we are taught where there are no decent women.
So that's just a little bit. And I mean, the whole video is 7 minutes and 28 seconds long. So that's just a little bit of it. But you heard what he said. When he said that, and remember, this was back in 2012 when he said he was sitting down talking to somebody in the police department, and the man told him that they had ordered all of these guns or something that would shoot these hollow point rifles, these bullets. And then he said a couple of days before he did this talk in the neighborhood that he had read on the internet where the Homeland Security had ordered over 700 million rounds of bullets hollow point. And he said the reason why is because they were expecting civil unrest. And that civil unrest would be their excuse to come into Chicago and kill black men. So everything that happened with everything that's happened since George Floyd, with all the protests, all the civil unrest, and all of that, of course, they are using all of that. And plus all the spikes in crime, we got all of these folks behind the scenes going around doing all of these killings and all of that, knowing that the gangs and the black folks and all of that in Chicago would be blamed for it. That gave them the excuse that they needed. So in 2012, which was 8 years ago, Farrakhan was warning the folks in Chicago in the neighborhoods of what was going to happen. And now it's happening. So, y'all, folks, you got to listen. You got to listen. You got to take heed, and we have to do our part to make sure that the communities are taking care of themselves, so that when these federal agents come in and these undercover agents and all of that, they won't find what they're looking for. They won't find the excuse that they need to start rounding black men up and start killing black men in the street and start arresting black folks and all of that. So y'all folks in Chicago, y'all folks who know people in Chicago, pass this information on. Make sure you share this information. Make sure you talking to folks in your families and all of this, so that they can understand that this is serious. This is serious. And Trump means to take some folks down. Okay? But that's just the information that I wanted to pass on to you about Chicago. And like I said, of course, the video was kind of low, so I'll turn it up. Hopefully it'll be a little bit louder when y'all hear it. But it'll be linked in the description box, and you can go and you can listen to the entire video, just like you can read that whole article about Lightfoot and Trump. But now I want to move on, and I want to talk about old creepy Joe Biden, Jim Crow Joe Biden, and something that he had the nerve to say about 4 or 5 days ago. And this kind of went over my head until I was going back, doing some searching and finding out what was going on and what had been said on the news and all of this, so that I could know what I needed to bring to y'all. And I caught it. And I need y'all to listen to what he had to say. Now, this is Joe Biden, and he got a YouTube channel. So this is old Creeper Joe on his YouTube channel. And every time, now this is the same Joe that said that poor people are just as smart as white people. The same Joe that was against busing. The same Joe that back in the 70s was against everything that was meant to support black people or uplift black people or whatever. His racist record is clear. He was the same one that said he didn't want his children going to into these jungles. That's what he called them, if they were bused with black children and ended up going to school with black children. He was the same one that said he didn't give a damn about what his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather did and all of that. He wasn't paying nobody nothing because he didn't owe nobody no reparations for slavery and all of that. So of course, we all know he's the author of the 1994 crime bill, and he voted for all that other legislation, the legislation that made this disparity between being charged with crack cocaine and powder cocaine. We know that he's literally just about the father of the prison industrial complex and mass incarceration as we see it today. But I want you to hear what Biden had to say, what creepy Joe Biden had to say about Trump. All right, now y'all listen. Hopefully it'll be loud enough. I'm going to turn it up in the video so to make sure it's loud enough for y'all to hear. Now just listen.
No sitting presidents ever done this. Never, never, never. No Republican president. No Democratic president. We've had.
Okay, y'all can't hear that one good. Yeah, that one is not good. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else.
Won't acknowledge how during a virtual town hall. It's a lie that relinquishes America. He's spreading the racism, the way he deals with.
Here it is. Hold on. I want you to hear him from the beginning.
It's a lie that relinquishes America of all responsibility.
Yeah, y'all, that's Charlemagne. We're going to talk about him too.
Joe Biden said, please listen.
Listen.
What President Trump has done is spreading the racism, the way he deals with people based on the color of their skin, their national origin, where they're from, is absolutely sickening. No sitting president has ever done this. No Republican president has done this. No Democratic president. We've had racists, and they've existed. They've tried to get elected president. He's the first one that has. How are you ever going to atone for America's original sins if you don't acknowledge them?
So basically, what Joe Biden just said was that Trump was the first racist president we've ever had. That's what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden said that Trump was the first racist president that we have ever had. And I want to read his words to you. Just in case you didn't get it good. I want to read what he said. Okay. Hold up. I'm pulling this out of The Guardian because I just want to read you his words. So I just pulled it out of whatever. Joe Biden calls Donald Trump America's first racist president. Now, these are his words. The way he deals with people based on the color of their skin, their national origin, where they're from, is absolutely sickening, the former vice president said. No sitting president has ever done this. Never, never, never. No Republican president has done this. No Democratic president. We've had racists and they've existed. They've tried to get elected president. He's the first one that has. Many presidents, including the nation's first, George Washington, owned slaves. President Woodrow Wilson, the country's 28th president, is having his name removed from Princeton University's public policy school after recent protests against institutional racism and police brutality. Wilson, who served in the early 20th century, supported segregation and imposed it on several federal agencies. I've done more for Black Americans than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln, the president said. Nobody has even been close. So that's what Trump said. And I'm not going to read that whole article. I just wanted y'all to hear what Biden said when he said that Trump was the first racist president that we've ever had. Again, these are his words. The way he deals with people based on the color of their skin, their national origin, where they're from, is absolutely sickening, the former vice president said. No sitting president has ever done this. Never, never, never. No Republican president has done this. No Democratic president has done this. We've had racists and they've existed. They've tried to get elected president. He's the first one that has. So basically, he is saying that Trump is the first racist president America has ever had. And this is the man that folks want to vote into the office of president. This is a man who he was the first. If you want to look at it that way, then we could say he was the first racist vice president we ever had, because he's shown up a racist, and his record speaks clearly. But we all know that there's something going wrong up here with Biden. We already know that. Now link this to the in the description box. But of course, you can Google search Biden calls Trump the first racist president, and several articles will come up. And we all know that Biden is not all here up there. And every time he opens up his mouth, he just makes situations worse, and you know, and makes it clear that he's not capable of being president. He's not capable of really talking at this point. But you know, for him to say something along those lines, you know, when we've had racist Democratic presidents, we've had racist Republican presidents, all the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all of them first presidents, all of them owned slaves. Come on now, let's be real. But along with that is something that I want to point out. And I want to point this out because I want to make sure that you all understand that when you are listening to somebody talk, whether they be black, whether they be white, whether they be a politician, a celebrity, just a regular average person, somebody in the black empowerment space or whatever, when people, you know, give you a sound bite, or when people give you a little clip for you to listen to or whatever, you've got to make sure that you go back to the source and you listen to the whole thing. Because if you don't, you'll probably find yourself supporting something that you should not have supported. And I say that to say this. Charlemagne the God, of course, from the Breakfast Club, had Joe Biden on as the donkey of the day on July the 23rd, 2020. And it was based on this comment that Biden made where he calls Trump the first racist president. And when you listen to Charlemagne going in, and he does go in, and I mean he talks about he talks about all the different presidents that owned slaves, that were racist. He talks about the different politicians that were racist and had supported all kinds of segregation and all kinds of Jim Crow laws and black codes and all of this kind of stuff. He really does this history lesson. You know, and if you stop right there and you don't listen to his entire speech on this thing, then you'll be like, yeah, go Charlemagne. You know, maybe just maybe we were wrong about you. Maybe just maybe you aren't the coon that we say you are. Maybe just maybe you aren't the bootlick that we say you are. But you have to keep listening. And you have to listen to the entire conversation so that you can get what he's really trying to say. And I'll let you listen to a little bit of it.
Now, I got all killed, okay? There's already so many people about voting against Trump. Now, on the flip side, out of the people who would vote for Trump, 70% are enthused about actually voting for Donald, okay? About actually voting for him. The rest just want to vote against Biden. Okay, I think it's like 27% or something like that. The moral of the story is people aren't enthused about Biden. They just don't like Trump. And that's not good. That's not a great motivator. That's not something that makes you get up on election day and say, hey, I have to vote. And when Joe Biden says certain things, he causes even more of a lack of enthusiasm. Case in point, yesterday, America is tired. Okay, we're tired and we're fed up, and we're really fed up with old white male leadership. Okay, old white male leadership has gotten us to this point. That's the reason we're in the situation that we're in right now. Doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican, local or federal, old white male leadership has failed America. And there's nothing worse than an old white male who can't recognize the faults, flaws of other old white males.
Now just listen.
Got here. How we got here in this position is systemic racism. How we got here is systemic oppression. Racism is the American way. Okay, Donald Trump is not the first, and sadly, he won't be the last. All right? He's just more overt with his racism than most presidents we've had in recent times. That's why when Joe Biden incorrectly refers to Donald Trump as America's first racist president, okay, like he did yesterday during a virtual town hall hosted by the Service Employees International Union, we have to check that immediately, okay? Can't have no revisionist history here. Saying Donald Trump is the first racist president is a lie, okay? It's a lie that relinquishes America of all responsibility of its bigotry. Listen to what Joe Biden said, please. Listen.
And Charlemagne goes on, like I said, he goes on, he does this virtual history lesson where he calls out all these different presidents, and he calls out the ones that have owned slaves, and he calls out the ones that were against the abolitionists and all of that. And like I said, if you just listen to the first 5-6 minutes of it, because that donkey of the day that he did on July the 23rd when he called out Joe Biden, the video was actually 8 minutes and 38 seconds long. So if you just listen to maybe the first 5 or 6 minutes, you like, go Charlemagne, and all that. But you have to keep listening. You have to keep listening. And you have to get around to maybe, let's go back to 7:01 in the video. Now listen very carefully.
How will America ever atone for its original sins if it won't even acknowledge them? Joe, you gotta hurry up and announce your black woman VP so I can be enthused about voting for her, because I will never be enthused about voting for you.
Now, did you hear what Charlemagne just said? Charlemagne just said, Joe, you better hurry up. You gotta hurry up and announce your black woman VP so that I can be enthused about voting for her, because I'll never be enthused about voting for you. Let you hear that again.
How will America ever atone for its original sins if it won't even acknowledge them? Joe, you gotta hurry up and announce your black woman VP so I can be enthused about voting for her, because I will never be enthused about voting for you. And you know America is in a terrible place when Kanye West seems like a viable option. Okay, America, we need a change. I don't know how we ended up in a position where in November we have to vote for two old white males again. Okay, the option is old white male leadership again. But we are here, and the country is at a tipping point. The energy of change is all around it.
So basically what Charlemagne is saying, I'm still going to vote Democrat. You understand what I'm saying? Joe, I'm still going to vote for you. But I'm going to vote for you because of whatever black woman VP, you understand what I'm saying, you find yourself running with. But then he turns around in the next word and says, we need a change. Okay, well, if we need a change, how is a black woman vice president going to change anything? Because Joe Biden is still the president. He's still that same old white man that you're talking about. You still voting for him to be president. So what good does it do for you to be enthused about voting for her? You're not voting her as president. You're voting him as president. And with the choices that we have seen, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, they threw around Keisha Lance Bottoms and some others. Okay, how are they any different from how is their ideology, how is their politics or whatever any different from the old white men? They all uphold white supremacy. They all uphold the status quo. Kamala Harris has already made it clear to us when she was running for president that she has no intention of doing anything specifically for black people. No. What has Stacey Abrams done? What has Keisha Lance Bottoms done in Atlanta specifically for black people? So even if he announces today or tomorrow that he's going to have a black woman running as vice president, how does that change anything? How does that change anything for black people? How does that change anything for America at all? Because you still got two white men. But see, that's why you have to listen to everything that a person says, and you can't just take little clips and little sound bites and run with it, because you'll find yourself either supporting something that you shouldn't be supporting or not supporting something that you should be supporting because you didn't listen. You didn't listen to everything this person said. So Charlemagne is still yet caping for the Democratic Party. So black folk are supposed to be enthused about voting for Joe Biden because he has a black woman vice president. When 9 times out of 10, that black woman president is simply going to be a puppet of white supremacy. White supremacy in blackface. That's all she gonna be. She gonna still be about the status quo. She's still gonna be about pushing what the Democrats are pushing, and that's LGBTQ and illegal immigrants. That's all they've been pushing. They could care less what's going on with black folks. So I just wanted to point that out to you so that, those of you who may listen to this, those of you who may, listen to the first 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minutes or whatever and think, Charlemagne is on our side and Charlemagne is speaking, truth to power or whatever. Just keep on listening until you get to about around the 7-minute mark. And you'll hear him still caping for the Democratic Party, still caping for this same old white man. Because at the end of the day, you're not voting that black woman in as president. You voting her in simply as vice president. Joe Biden is still going to be the president if you vote for her. So you still only have these 2 creepy old, racist old white men to deal with. So there is no real change. So I just wanted to bring y'all that and just wanted to let y'all know. You know what I'm saying? We got to be careful who we listen to. We've got to be careful that we listen to everything that we listen to. People talk in entirety and listen to what they're saying as a whole, and not just listen until it sounds as long as it sounds good and all of that, and because it sounds good and because it makes us feel good, we stop short of hearing the whole thing. Because if you don't listen to this whole donkey of the day, then you'll miss that part of what Charlemagne said. And I put in the comments, I'm going to read to you what I commented, if I can find it. I may not be able to. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it. But I put something to the effect of, I can't remember my exact words, but I put something to the effect of, first of all, what black woman that cares about being black, that gives a damn about being black and gives a damn about the black community, would even want to run alongside Joe Biden? That's the first question you got to ask. What black woman that gives a damn about being black and gives a damn about the black community would even be willing, would even want to run alongside Joe Biden? Knowing his record, knowing his history, as far as how he has voted when it came to legislation that was meant to hurt black people and target black people. Why would any black woman want to run with him? And what difference does it make at this point what black woman he chooses as his VP? Because we already know whoever she is, she's just going to be a puppet of white supremacy. She's just going to be a puppet of the system. So we've got to be careful not to fall for that. We've got to be careful not to fall for some symbolism because he picked some black woman. That's just symbolism. We already got black folks in positions of power in the government. We got a whole congressional black caucus. And they do absolutely nothing for black folks. Never have. They out running around marching and protesting and screaming and hollering for LGBT and immigrants and DACA and dreamers and all of that. But they ain't saying nothing about what's going on with black folks. They have been absolutely silent about all this police brutality, about all these police officers killing unarmed black folks in the street. They have been absolute, and whatever legislation they call themselves writing, like HR 40. And Bobby Rush with that HR 6666. And this legislation that the Democrats came out with talking about this policing bill or whatever. None of that mess it says anything that helps black people at all. HR 40 is a Trojan horse. It's a nothing burger. HR 66666 is meant to target black communities with all this COVID tracing and all of that kind of stuff. And then that so-called policing act that the Democrats came up with says nothing about police officers being held responsible and being held accountable. You understand what I'm saying? And getting any kind of time, any kind of prison sentences, or anything like that for killing unarmed black folks. And now we got I think we got Kamala Harris, and is it Amy Klobuchar or whatever, got some kind of bill they trying to get passed for this mail-in voting mess. And Michelle Obama is real heavy trying to push this mail-in voting mess. Why? Because the Democrats want to win. They want to win. And they want to use whatever kind of trickery, whatever kind of sleight of hand. If they have to steal the election or whatever they have to do, they want to win. So it's time for black folks to understand we don't have any friends in Washington. Whether they be black, whether they be white, whether they be Hispanic, whether they be Asian American, whether they be Native American or whatever. We don't have any friends in Washington. We have nobody in Washington that looks out for our interests. That's saying taxation without any representation. That spells us. We paying taxes, but we have absolutely no representation in Washington, D.C. None whatsoever. So I just wanted to bring this information to y'all. I just wanted to let y'all know what was going on. We got to get back to with everything that's going on. Don't think for 1 minute that we have forgotten or that we have gotten sidetracked or distracted or whatever from the main thing, and that is reparations. That is our tangibles. That is our demands that Jason Black so beautifully put into writing our demands. And we are still no tangibles, no vote. Don't make no difference which one of y'all white men they put up in front of us. And it makes no difference whether or not one particular old racist white man decides that he's going to get a black woman to run as his vice president. That ain't going to change nothing. It's still no tangibles, no vote. You got to come up off of them tangibles. Like you coming off of tangibles for everybody else. Like you have come up off of tangibles for the Native Americans. You have come up off of them tangibles for them immigrants. You have come up off of them tangibles for LGBT. You have come up off of them tangibles for the Asian Americans. You came up off of them tangibles for the Jews. Everybody has got their reparations. Everybody is getting tangibles. Everybody but us. Foundational Black Americans. So with everything that's going on and all this stuff you keep trying to throw out at us, don't think for 1 minute that we are distracted and that we have lost our focus and that we have moved off our square. We have not moved off our square. We are still not voting for you people. Period. no tangibles, no vote. It don't make no difference to us who offers the tangibles, as long as you're ready to come to the table and sit down and talk about real tangibles. Not no programs, not no mess for minorities, because we're not minorities. We're not dealing with minorities right now. We're dealing strictly with foundational Black Americans. Not no student loans. You understand what I'm saying? Not no money to no HBCUs. Not no money to help us buy a house. None of that. We want tangibles. And it starts with you cutting the check. And that starts at about 16, 17, 18, 19, maybe $20 trillion. Cutting the check. That's where it starts. That's not the end all to be all, but that's where it starts. And we ain't moving off of that. You can take down any kind of monuments you want to take down. You can get any kind of Black woman you want to get to be the vice president. You can do all of this. We ain't interested in no symbolism. You can take Aunt Jemima's picture off of the pancake box. We don't care about none of that. We ain't got nothing to do with what's going on with COVID-19. Cut me my check. And we have not moved off of that. But understand, these Black folks, these celebrities, these Black folks in mainstream media and attached to mainstream media and attached to these 6 corporations that run everything, these folks are still going to try to push Black people to vote. It's still all about voting. And again, I want to make sure that you understand so people cannot shame you and trick you into voting by telling you your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. No, what your ancestors died for was for you to have the power of the vote. For you to have that power, for you to have that leverage, so that you could know when to use it, so that you would be able to make that transaction. I exchange my vote for something tangible. Just like I go to the store and I exchange my money for something tangible. You understand what I'm saying? When I go to the grocery store and I give you my money, I don't walk out with an idea. I don't walk out with some symbolism. I don't walk out with an ideology. I don't walk out with a promise. I walk out with tangible groceries. Stuff that I can take home and cook and eat or whatever the case may be. Well, it's got to be the same way with your vote. When you exchange your vote, you have to exchange your vote for something tangible, something that you can see, something that you can touch, something that you can put your hands on. Not promises, not symbology or symbolism, but real stuff. So we got to wake up to what our ancestors were really doing. Our ancestors were trying to give us some power. They were trying to give us some leverage. They were trying to give us something that we could exchange for something tangible. They didn't die just for us to be able to walk up in some booth and vote and don't get nothing in return for it. We're not honoring them. We're not honoring their sacrifice. We're not honoring their work. We're not honoring their lives and their deaths by just giving our vote away and just giving our power and our leverage away. No, we honor them by holding on to it until we can make a power exchange. So that's what I wanted to come to y'all with. Let me see how long I have been. Okay, well, not too long. It's almost under an hour. But we just need to know what's really going on. We just need to know what's really going on. You understand what I'm saying? We just need to know where people really stand so that we know who to listen to and who not to listen to. And by this point, all foundational Black Americans should understand that you have to take what celebrities and people who are attached to mainstream media and people who are attached to these corporations and all of that. You by this time you should know that you have to take whatever they say with a grain of salt. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to expect them to flip. You understand what I'm saying? To flip the script, to backtrack, or whatever the case may be at any moment. Because they get their daily bread from these people. They make their livings from these people. They are high-priced slaves, still on the plantation. So ain't none of them gonna go too far. You understand what I'm saying? And then when they do go too far, you understand what I'm saying? And massa walks them back, they walk back on it. And instead of us being upset with them, you understand what I'm saying? We have to be upset with ourselves for getting too caught up into believing what they were saying. So, don't let the Democrats mess your head up with that whole black woman VP thing. Okay, and you understand what I'm saying? Look who she running with. Look what banner she running under. And we done already seen that the Republicans and the Democrats are just two wings of the same bird. And I done already put it out there that our job is to cripple one of them wings of that bird. Because that's the only way you can stop a bird from being able to fly and soar away and all of that, is you got to be able to attack one of them wings. You got to be able to cripple one of them wings. So we're going to have to cripple one of them wings. If we want to affect white supremacy, then we're going to have to cripple one of its wings. So, I just wanted to bring y'all this information, let y'all know what was going on. All of this stuff will be in the description box, so you can go back, you can read these articles, you can listen to these videos. You know what I'm saying? You can see Minister Farrakhan trying his best. You understand what I'm saying? To warn Chicago 8 years ago on what was coming, and sure enough, it came just like he said it would. So I mean, they don't have too many more. They don't have too many more tricks, because they keep trying the same tricks over and over and over again. And by now, we should be able to recognize these tricks. We should be able to recognize the tricks of the Democrats. The Republicans ain't trying to trick us, because the Republicans already got their folks. All of them hardcore white supremacists. So Trump already got his base. You understand what I'm saying? And he ain't worried about losing out on the more softcore white supremacists. You understand what I'm saying? So and Biden is trying to pander to black folks and Hispanics and all of this kind of stuff, and make us think that he's for minorities or whatever. We ain't interested in minorities. All we interested in who's for the foundation of Black Americans. Who's going to work in our best interest? Who's going to do what we need to get done? You understand what I'm saying? Who's going to produce our agenda? Because if you ain't doing that, if you ain't talking about producing the Black Agenda 2020, tangibles 2020, then, no tangibles, no vote. It's just that simple. If you ain't talking about cutting the check. So I just wanted to bring y'all that. All the information will be in the description box. Have these conversations, as I've always said. Have these conversations outside of social media with your family, your friends, your co-workers, and all this. Let's get together. Let's stay on code. Let's get this community policing stuff together and all of this. Let's be ever mindful of who we're listening to, who we're supporting, who we're paying attention to. Please like this video. Please share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already subscribed to the channel. I want to let my subscribers know and my supporters know that I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. from the bottom of my heart, you are the reason why I do this. You are the reason why I do this. On top of the fact that I like to talk. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload videos. But yeah, y'all stay watchful, stay careful, and understand when you're really, really moving. Real movers and shakers move in silence. They don't tell the world everything that they're doing. They don't tell the world every move that they make. They don't come on social media and explain everything that they're doing. When you know anything about it, it's done. Just like Jason Black. When we knew anything about it, the billboards in New York were already done. He didn't come and talk about it. He didn't ask nobody for no help. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't tell nobody, well, I need y'all to join with me so we can get these billboards put up or none of that. No, it was done. Tariq, when it was time to go down there and pay that $75,000 or however much it was to get that boy out of jail down there in Louisiana, by the time we knew anything about it, it was done. It wasn't something that he talked about doing and telling everybody this is what I plan on doing. It was done. So see, when these folks are serious about doing what needs to be done and handling business and handling the business of black empowerment, they ain't telling everybody what they doing. They not sitting up on Instagram and YouTube and all of this 5 and 6 times a day. You know, they got to have a morning show, then they got to have a late night show and all of this, telling everybody, well, we gonna be here, we doing this, I'm talking to this person, I'm talking to that person, or whatever the case may be. By the time we know anything, the stuff is already done. It's already done and handled. Now, they may have their small group of people that they talk to in real life, but they ain't all over social media telling everybody what they're going to do. So understand that real movers and shakers move in silence. When you got somebody that's constantly on social media broadcasting what they going to do and broadcasting what moves they going to make, you understand what I'm saying? That's somebody that just simply clout chasing, just simply wants attention. Y'all remember that, okay? Get down in that description box, share this information. You understand what I'm saying? And let's be vigilant, let's be diligent, let's be aware, and let's stay on code. Y'all have a good night.